Welcome to the Uncensored Unprofessor, a podcast where I want to think more deeply with you about Christian faith and life. Hey, you hope-filled believers, you agnostic non-believers, you barrier-erecting unaffiliated believers, you bet-hedging sort-of believers, you less than certain I think I'm a believers, welcome. Welcome all of yous. You who are the hope for creation this side of eternity, my 9%ers, welcome. My non-university unstudents, welcome to the Uncensored Unprofessor. My name is Ed Rybarczyk, and if you're new to the show, I'm glad to have you. With a PhD in the history of theology, I taught college for 25 years, 15 of those full-time. And the last 10 of those years involved me enduring a life-choking bureaucratic sea change that, well, frankly, it sucked my soul dry. The school, in sheeple-like manner, was chasing after every philosophic fad and every bureaucratic red tape trend, and I realized, you know what? We're not any longer about making disciples. That's no longer our first commitment. And it was a painful realization. And so, in a decision surely deemed delusional to many, I resigned my full-time tenured slot. But I still want to think, I still want to make a difference, still want to edify believers and sort of believers. So, again, welcome to the Unshow. Last fall, you guys, I watched a Jordan Peterson video, and he said something that has been mulling around in my cranium for about 3 months now. He said the Bible is not propaganda. Now, I put it in the positive. Propaganda is not memorized and passed down from generation to generation and so on for centuries. People too easily smell that rat. People won't play that game of manipulation, and so they wouldn't preserve and memorize stories or a big story like the Bible, that is, if it was mere propaganda. A common assertion in our cynical cyber era is that the Bible is just a piece of propaganda. The Bible, says the meme, is just a way for ancient control freaks to get over on us, right? The Bible was given for many supposed reasons. First and foremost, to keep us from having fun, especially sexual fun. Or the Bible was given to prevent us from tipping over the social order. On this line of thought, the bougies supposedly wrote and preserved the Bible as a way to keep the rest of us schlubs under their thumb. Or still, third, the Bible was written to make us believe there's a God who's watching us, again, to control the social order to the benefit of some faceless power brokers, undoubtedly corporate power brokers, at the top of a social native totem pole. Or still further, the Bible was passed along as a means to help white people, especially middle to upper class white men, from Poland? No. From Estonia? No. From Germany? No. From Great Britain? Yeah. From Great Britain. To help those white men manipulate reality against all of the rest of Earth's population. However you carve it up, so many are saying, especially inside university classrooms, the Bible's just a piece of propaganda. And since Karl Marx's day, that has been the reverberating meme. Today, it's just a self-evident, take-it-for-granted piece of dog-do dogma fact that the Bible's a poorly disguised power grab. But is that really the case? Well, first, what's propaganda? Oxford Dictionary says propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or a point of view. Urban Dictionary describes propaganda this way: the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. However you and I define it, propaganda is disingenuous information that's broadcast to further a cause or manipulate the audience. But is that really what the Bible is? Well, you won't be surprised to hear me say no. In fact, I'm going to give you some reasons why it's precisely the opposite. The first reason is that for political propaganda to work, it needs to have a laudable key character. It needs to have praiseworthy, esteemable key characters. Today, if we wanted to propagandize our target audience about how wonderful our political candidate was, we would never betray her follies, her teenage sexual activities, her ongoing struggle with envy, or how she cheated in her business transactions. But the Bible does exactly that. Whether we want to talk about the first couple, Adam and Eve, or whether we want to talk about the first leader, Abraham, or whether we want to talk about the chosen, air quotes, chosen tribe of Israel, we wouldn't constantly expose their pettiness, their small-mindedness, let alone their betrayals, their embarrassing moral warts, or their ripe to pop like pimple crimes. If you're writing propaganda, you wouldn't tattle on your chosen subjects. Ratting out your chosen propaganda star would be sort of like a March 2018 news story I read. It goes like this. A New Jersey man died in a vehicle fire after he drove around barricade cones and onto live power wires in Franklin lanes. The man was en route to his father's house to shovel the driveway. After the second nor'easter storm in a week, hundreds of thousands of people were left without power. Utility crews worked overtime to deal with downed trees and electric lines. Traffic snarls and frustrated motorists were everywhere. This man did not want to lose time to a detour. According to police, our zealous man simply navigated around bright orange traffic cones, warning motorists of a hazardous downed wire on Route 208. Responding to calls, officers arrived at 9 a.m. to find the vehicle fully engulfed in flames. A live power line was sputtering in the roadway near the vehicle. The fire totally gutted the car, and the driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Ironically, this Darwin Award winner was employed as a New York City electrician. My thanks to the Darwin Awards website for that story. No, you don't tell the story, not in propaganda. You don't tell the story in a way that makes the central characters, your prime subjects, look bad. Not over and over and over for 66 books in a row. But the overplayed meme goes like this. The Bible was written to make the church look great and thus establish its power and primacy. Have you read the Gospels? Have you read the epistles? Both those genres in the Bible make the early church look like doofuses. The plural would be doofi. Or dark-hearted ignoramuses, ignoramusi. Or selfish snots, snot-eye. Why, it's almost like Jesus' chosen followers were gulp, real life people. Jesus' very own disciples struggle with faith in Christ? Yep. But showing us that is hardly propaganda. Jesus' very apostles struggle with the meaning of Christ's coming and identity? Yep. Well, if you read the New Testament, absolutely. Anyway, the key characters of the Bible are hardly laudable enough, hardly esteemable enough for it to be propaganda. Second, why is the Bible not propaganda? Well, for moralizing propaganda to work, it needs to have a central theme. Propaganda is always characterized by their central themes. For example, in May 1961, the month and year of my birth, JFK was baldly propagandistic when, to promote the idea that America needs to put a man on the moon, linking the idea to winning a war between tyranny and freedom, he said, quote, "Finally, if we are to win the battle that is now going on around the world between freedom and tyranny, the dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere. With the Vice President, we have examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Now it is time to take longer strides. Time for a great new American enterprise. Time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to the future on Earth." End quote. Really, JFK? Putting a man on the moon will help America win the Cold War against the USSR? Come on, man. Space exploration is the key to our future on Earth? Hardly. But JFK's own central theme was clear. For America to be great, for the war against tyranny to be won, space exploration was essential. And I got to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, softschools.com, for that example. So then, just what is the central theme of the Bible? Salvation? Well, salvation is not much of an issue at all in the Old Testament, not the way that it is in the New Testament. What is it? Sexual purity? Well, it's true that that topic appears across the 66 books, but we could hardly call it the theme. What about the 10 Commandments? They don't even appear until the end of the second long book, and even though the morality of the whole Bible builds on those 10, they're not repeated over and over and over the way that propaganda would be. Spirituality? Sorry, I just couldn't find how to align my chakras in the Bible. I haven't even found the perfect prayer to recite daily so that God will at all times bless me. Well, maybe the theme of the Bible is going to heaven, right? The 39 Old Testament books, they have next to nothing in them by way of going to heaven. Oh, so maybe the theme of the Bible is human nature, right? The Bible is just one long expose on the twists and turns of human nature, and that's why the Bible is so moralistic. It always has the story ending like this. And that's why, children, you don't cut your hair when you're in prison. Or, kids, did you get the gist of that story? Don't disobey your parents, you hear me? Goodness, no. That's not what's going on in the Bible. The Bible is more subtle than that, more real than that. And here's one. Here's one we should put on the list. Social justice. The Bible is really about social justice. Yeah. No. Justice is implied throughout the Bible, but it's really not until the Old Testament prophets, at the end of the Old Testament, that justice as an abiding theme begins to make its presence felt. In fact, the Bible's not much interested in social justice, not how it's construed today. The Bible is profoundly interested in godly justice. Wow, there's a theme for a series. Yeesh. We could blather on, you guys, about a long list of possible suspects, but the truth is, the Bible is about a great deal of things. Why, it's almost like the Bible thinks that everything in life is important. It doesn't land on one central theme. And I just don't care what your pastor says about that. It lands on many themes. It narrates many themes. It teaches us many lessons. It shows us a great deal about human nature. It gives us significant information about God, but it hardly tells us everything we want to know about human nature, or God, or the formation of a just government, or how to build an economic system, or what political party to support, or how to go through one's day in a state of apathetic calmness. Right? Holy shnikes, it doesn't even give us the 7 steps for a happy marriage. What the heck? What is going on with the Bible? Shout outs. Do you like the UU podcast? There's a button on my show's webpage, uncensoredunprofessor.com, that will take you to Patreon. Through Patreon, you can sign up to give monthly monies. Now, me, I'd love to send you a coaster and some stickers for your pledge of $5 or more a month. And I would be joyously giddy. Well, not quite that giddy. To send you the coaster and stickers and a coffee cup for pledges of $20 or more per month. My good listener, the most patrons I ever picked up in a month was 7. Would you make a $1 or $2 pledge today and help me pass number 8 for this month? That'd be fun. And Facebook shares are another way to help me build the show. So thank you truly, my old travel buddy Ed W., for that Facebook share and your really kind blurb. Thanks. Thank you, sweet Colleen, for your recent share. Thank you, Tanya, my sweetheart, for your daily support and that Facebook share. Would you, my listener, like to get email updates a couple times per month? Or would you like to contribute when I ask for input or ideas and feedback? Please go register your email at www.uncensoredunprofessor.com. A third way we can contrast the Bible and propaganda is that propaganda wants us to think, come on, dude, everyone is doing it. Propaganda wants us to think in bandwagon terms. Right? Virtue signal on social media? Of course you can do it. I mean, everyone is virtue signaling. Give it a try. You'll feel so much better about that narrow existence you call a life. Oh man, the bandwagon principle goes to what I've critiqued numerous times across the last year. The sheeple dynamic. And propaganda loves the sheeple dynamic. Propaganda wants everyone to turn off their logical brain and their critical mindedness and just amble along with the herd. You didn't buy Tom's shoes? What a shame. Aw, you didn't share the Stop Coney Facebook meme years ago? Well, I guess you weren't making a difference, were you? Where's your pink ribbon? Don't you care about fighting breast cancer? Wait, what? You didn't pick up a pair of Jabez fridge magnet in the foyer? Wow, you must not want to be blessed, eh? You don't buy organic bananas? So I guess you support the destroying of the rainforest. Me? The you? I get chunks of that let's buy organic perspective. I enjoy the big yolked cage-free eggs I eat for breakfast 4 or 5 times per week. And of course it's good to eat beef that's free from pesticides, but bananas? Aren't bananas just bananas? Me? I contentedly eat my Dole bananas knowing I'm supporting the jobs of thousands of beautiful folk in Costa Rica. Oh, and by the way, me saying that is not me virtue signaling. That's just me matter-of-factly saying that I'm better than you. Again, propaganda wants us to think, come on, dude, everyone's doing it. Just what is the Bible propagandizing us to do? Live righteous lives? Walk through life trusting God? Trying to get us to love our neighbor as ourselves? Acting with integrity in our jobs? Or to get us to be faithful to our spouse and kids? Oh, all of it, such deplorable propaganda. Hey, look, that athlete has rings on his fingers. In the 1960s, quarterback Bart Starr won the first 2 Super Bowls with the Green Bay Packers. In the 1970s, Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowl rings with the Steelers. A decade later, quarterback Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowl rings with the 49ers. Still after that, Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls, but mirroring Frank Tarkenton and the Vikings, the Bills lost all 4. I say all that because Tom Brady and the New England Patriots have now gone to the Super Bowl 9 times in the last 18 years. To date, they've won 5 of the 8 they've been in. In a week or so, they're going to beat the Rams, and when they do that, that'll give Tom Brady 6 rings. 6 rings. College freshman, that's more fingers than you have on your left hand. At 41 years of age, 41, playing on a field of 20-year-olds, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. Look, people, honestly, I'm a convalescing Redskins fan, so the Patriots are not my favorite team. But I do deeply respect what Coach Bill Belichick and the Patriots have done now for 2 decades. Seriously, they've been in 9 of the last 18 Super Bowls. We're talking pigskin dynasty here. Now, of course, like a good American, I love to root for the underdog. In most every sport, once the team I'm rooting for is eliminated, I next turn and root for the biggest underdog. But with the Patriots, I enjoy watching them win and therefore thrust most of the nation into misery. I guess that makes me guilty of football Schadenfreude. Yes, I'm a football Schadenfreude fiend. So, what do I admire about the Patriots? Well, they win without having the greatest talent. Yes, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever. There's no longer any argument. And it's quite possible that Rob Gronkowski is the greatest tight end of all time. But beyond that, they get solid role players to do their job. They win with a big cast of A- and B+ talent. But they get their players to do the little things that combine for team wins. And this may be a dumb reason, but when I was in high school, in PE, I loved getting a bunch of guys and girls together on a team who everyone else thought were not very good athletes, and then we would play as hard as we could and win. It was so much fun. So I love that sense of an underdog team, an underachieving team, pushing hard together to win. Even more admirable to me is that the Patriots win on smarts. Yes, they have talent, but they don't always have the biggest stars. Bill Belichick again, he's the GOAT coach of all time. He's a football genius. He prepares for games and makes adjustments at halftime better than any coach ever. He outthinks his opponents. He knows how to take away his opponent's strengths. He's a crazy strategist. He pressures the opposing quarterback and makes his life miserable for the entire game. Me, I just love it when mental smarts can overcome sheer physical talent, speed, or strength. So yeah, I'll be kind of secretly rooting for the Patriots this year in the Super Bowl. Hey folks, come back in. We're going to start up again. Folks, please, it's time to get back to where the show is just me yakking. Thank you, thanks for reassembling. Please, have a seat. Number 4, propaganda prevents dialogue. Comparing the Bible and propaganda, propaganda prevents dialogue. Jacques Ellul, a 20th century French philosopher, a Christian, wrote, quote, "To be effective, propaganda cannot be concerned with detail. Propaganda ceases where simple dialogue begins. It does not tolerate discussion. By its very nature, it excludes contradiction and discussion." End quote. And thank you, Intellectual Takeout, for that Jacques Ellul quote. You guys, oh my goodness. Think of all the social media shaming that is occurring today. And there's a goal, there's a reason for that. They want zero room for listening and sharing. The goal is zero room for detail. Nuance, and the dialogue that nuance begs, are both blown up by that fatuous social shaming. Just thinking of that reminds me of an Albert Maysles quote I used many episodes ago. Tyranny is the deliberate removal of nuance. What'd he say? Tyranny is the deliberate removal of nuance. Tyranny hates it when people stop and think. Tyranny blows its mental gourd when people stop asking probing questions, when they stop splicing and dicing with their questions. Tyranny hates questions like, hey, just what's going on there at the Lincoln Memorial between those young boys and that Native American man? Tyranny hates questions like, are we helping or harming society when we immediately amp up every social issue to the boiling point? The problem in society is white privilege. That is a meme shouted loudly to silence all sincere and even clunky dialogue. The problem in society is cisgenderedism. That's a retarded meme. Even when spoken with professorial gravitas, it's a meme to stop anyone from asking follow-up questions or to prohibit us from approaching the topic through a different perspective. Tyranny hates detail, and tyranny hates nuance. The Bible? The utterly amazing thing about the Bible? It can't be understood, or it can't be easily understood or well understood unless we talk about it, dialogue about it, think together about it, and even argue about it. The nature of the Bible, the book in Latin, begs many questions. Like, was God's goal only that the Bible be written down, or did he also care who wrote it? Did he care that people would read it? Did he care that they would read it and obey it? Did he want them to discuss, study, memorize, apply it? Did he want it to inform their whole lives? But none of that can happen unless we're talking about it together. None of that can happen unless we're poring over its nuance, its detail, delicacies, its choking difficulties, its strange oddities. Right? Ham saw Noah's loins, and even though Noah got himself drunk, he cursed Ham's son Canaan. Wait, what the? It's hard to understand some of those passages, and it's just plain difficult to digest some of those moral passages. God ordered killing? But my point, folks, is that the Bible is chock full of nuance, subtle nuance. Like a Panera Bread steaming hot bowl of broccoli cheddar cheese soup. The Bible is thick with all manner of chunks and bits and globs of seemingly unimportant detail. In fact, the details can be overwhelming, obfuscating. But without the details, there's no Bible. Oh, Ed, but I'm just a red letter Christian. I don't need those details. I just want what Jesus said, and I want only what Jesus said. What Jesus said is all betwixt and between and interwoven with and in contrast to what the Jews of 1500 years said and wrote and taught and argued about. What Jesus said in your Bible's red letters is all framed by 62 other books full of black letters. No, my unfriend, the Bible invites dialogue. On that point, the Bible mirrors God. He invites dialogue. For crying out loud, he named his people Israel. What does the name Israel mean? The one who wrestles with God. God wants to hear us. He wants to see us thinking with him, alongside him, about him, through him. He wants to see us wrestling with him, about him, from him, concerning everything in life. He gave us brains, and he wants us to turn them on. He gave us hearts, and he wants them to be like his. He gave us souls, and he wants them to be attuned to his frequency. So, finally today, class, is the Bible propaganda? Not at all. It doesn't have much by way of laudable key characters. It doesn't have a central repeated theme. It doesn't at all make us think everyone is doing it. And unlike BuzzFeed reporting, it doesn't shut down dialogue. Thank you so much for listening today. Please tell a friend about the show. But most of all, turn your brains on, everybody.